Trump now saying he will double tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel imports. He says it's a response to Ontario, the province of Ontario, placing a 25% surcharge on electricity coming into 3 U.S. neighboring states. And joining us now, the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford. Premier Ford, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, what's your reaction when you heard this latest news?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Wolf. And it's disappointing, and I'll tell you the reason it's disappointing, because Americans are going to pay more. They only have the capacity, the U.S. only has the capacity of producing 16% of the aluminum they need. Pretty well almost the balance comes over 60% comes from Quebec. So costs are going to go up, along with aluminum and steel. Let's focus on the real problem, and that's China. You know, bringing transshipments in and costing American and Canadian jobs. I want to make sure that we send more electricity. Well, if I want to send more critical minerals, but there was an unprovoked attack on Canada, on families, on jobs, on businesses. For what reason? You know, the market's speaking loud and clear. Consumer confidence is down. The market's tumbling. You know, there's going to be plants closed in the U.S. Assembly plants will shut down because they won't have the aluminum, or they'll be paying 3 times as much. This is absolute chaos created by one person, and that's Donald Trump, not the American people. I always say Canadians love Americans. I love Americans, and this has to stop. Let's sit around the table and negotiate a new deal, even though he created the deal in the first place.
Yeah, and as someone who grew up in Western New York and Buffalo along the border with Canada, I can honestly say I love Canadians as well. Talk a little bit about Ontario, your province, and the electrical power it shares with the states in the United States along the border. A lot of it is coming from Ontario, right?
That's correct. We power 1.5 million homes and businesses in New York and Michigan and in Minnesota. I just got off the phone with Governor Whitmer. I consider her a friend. We worked together for 7 years. She's a wonderful person, and I apologize to her. She understands. But what I recommend is on the electricity bill, put down this increase is a tariff from Trump. It's a Trump tariff, which is basically a Trump tax.
As you know, you've called this an unprovoked trade and tariff war initiated by the United States against Canada. Trump is saying that Canada pays very little for national security and relies on the U.S. for military protection. What's your response to him on that issue?
I agree that we have to meet our 2% commitment, our NATO commitment. I've said it for years. Other premiers all signed agreements sending it to the federal government. We spend 1.4% on defense. It needs to go up to 2%. We have to pitch in our share. 100% I agree on the 2%.
Yeah, that's what he's been saying now for the last several years. The NATO allies have to increase their spending to come up to what the U.S. percentage of military spending is. His latest Truth Social post earlier today, Premier, also doubled down on Trump's desire for Canada to become the 51st state of the United States, saying the brilliant "O Canada" anthem will continue to play. How do Canadians feel about what the President Trump is saying about Canada becoming part of the United States and even allowing "O Canada," a beautiful national anthem, to continue playing?
Well, obviously, the Canadians are infuriated, and what it's done, it's united the whole country, and the patriotism is running wild across the country. The likes I've never seen before in my entire life. We'll never become the 51st state. Canada is not for sale, and we want a great trading partner. We had the greatest neighbors in the world, the U.S., and it's not the American people. They didn't vote President Trump in on this type of mandate. He had a mandate to lower inflation, lower cost of living, create more jobs, and it's backfired on him. Inflation's going up, jobs will be lost. He's taking more money out of Americans' pockets. For what reason? We're still trying to figure this out. Let's sit down at the table and negotiate this deal. If there's things he doesn't like, then we sit down and we have a conversation. But just going tit for tat back and